Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank, again, both witnesses. It's great to see our former colleague here, and also General Odierno. That those stripes on your right sleeve are, in my opinion, very powerful evidence of the fact that every word you present is backed with an outstanding, almost unprecedented level of service in the Middle East, and a number of us had a chance to visit you over the years there, and your commitment to our nation, again, is just unquestioned. Mr. Secretary, you talked in your opening remarks about the sacred covenant that we must have with the people who have served in the Army, and I know both of you believe in that unquestionably. I wanted to share with you a story about an Army National Guard wounded warrior from my district who in '07 was in a rollover. He's 100% medically disabled from a TBI injury that he suffered as a result of it. So he was medically retired. He's still within, obviously, the DOD sort of benefit structure. And his TRICARE coverage, which was TRICARE Echo at the time of the injury, became TRICARE Standard once he went into a retired status. If you fast forward a couple of years ahead, he's a young guy. He and his wife had a baby about a year ago. Unfortunately, she was born with a pretty severe disability. It's a condition called short colon, which requires nutrition to be done through feeding tubes. They can't feed normally, and the doctors prescribed about 40 hours of home health services for the care of this child at home. She has to be fed and changed every 2 hours. TRICARE Standard does not, the structure of TRICARE Standard, as I found out, is really patterned after Medicare, so that families with young children and pediatric issues, particularly sort of intensive specialized care, it's a square peg in a round hole. And we have been, for the last 4 months, trying to work with HealthNet to try and just figure out some help in the home. We're able to sort of scrape a plan together for 16 hours of care, but again, if you think of the sleep deprivation, if nothing else, that this family experiences with that kind of intensive care, it's not helping the wounded warrior in terms of his issues, and frankly, it just sort of begs the question about how we really take care of these families. Again, TRICARE Echo, it would not have been an issue at all in terms of getting the full complement of prescribed care that the child's doctors have prescribed. So again, I'm not asking you to answer on the spot here, but when we talk about restructuring TRICARE, and again, this is a challenge we've got to talk about, as the general said. But frankly, there's gaps, for particularly young medically retired in TRICARE that I'd like to work with both of you to try and fix. I mean, this guy, he did what he was asked to do. He is going to carry this wound for the rest of his life, and his family should not be sort of trapped in this sort of gap in coverage. And again, I'm not asking you to, explicitly, but I just want to make you aware of the fact that there are these sort of special case problems that I think these conflicts are going to continue to sort of manifest.
Thank you, Joe. First of all, I deeply appreciate the focus and the devotion you brought to this individual soldier, and I know it transcends just a single individual. And you really, I think, struck upon one of the challenges, as you said, will be with us for many years. The good news of Afghanistan, Iraq is people are surviving the battlefield and wounds that in all likelihood they would have never survived before. As many of you have seen, Chief and I certainly have seen many visits to Walter Reed, the challenge is many of those wounds, those survivors are facing incredibly challenging circumstances physically. I think it's fair to say back in 96 and in 1997 when TRICARE was fully stood up that no one really considered this aspect of it. As happens in the private insurance industry as well, sometimes you find your needs misaligned with your policy coverages. And we want to certainly do everything we can do to support the activity through the TRICARE Management Activity Center and others to try to close those gaps where they exist. So if there's anything we can do to join in your effort, we certainly stand ready to do that.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Secretary. And HealthNet actually is poised to try and work this through to come up with solutions for families like the Pavlaks.
Right. Well, we have to make sure that we're not placing obstacles in front of them from having that happen.
Right. Yeah. Thank you.
Gentleman's time has expired.